So I'm gonna cut this out, but I had this $1 million idea.
Hmm.
Clip-on mawashis.
How does that work?
You know, like how a clip-on tie is easier than tying it yourself?
Yes.
You clip on the mawashi
To what?
to Oh, so I'm still working on it, but like I think tying the mawashi, like it's something it's tough for new people to learn at the club. It's something everybody has to do, but like,
Hmm.
it could help new people get started if you just clip it on.
Something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just clip it on.
Yeah.
I don't
All right. No.
know.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. I
I
can. We'll bankroll that.
I think I have enough clout here to get that started and quit my day job.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to cut this out of the episode, but
Yeah. Absolutely.
don't want anybody stealing that incredible, perfect idea. Okay, well, anyways, good to go. All right, welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown, the unofficial sumo podcast for official sumo fans. This is Jake.
This is Ryan, and this is our Kyushu 2025 Banzuke prediction. This one's a interesting one. Starts off pretty straightforward, pretty easy. There's a couple of choices to make, but nothing that's gonna really push us too hard, make us do too much mental gymnastics to try to figure out who goes where. And then things fall off a cliff very quickly towards the
Okay.
middle of the Banzuke.
I was gonna say you were leading towards the idea that maybe this will be like a everybody scores well, but like a couple people score best. But
I
no, maybe
think
maybe completely garbage in the middle.
I think the way that it's difficult, it's one of those where you have to pull a lot of people further
Ah,
up than you need to, or under demote people by a decent amount. And with those, you're typically left with very few options. And so I think scores could be pretty decent, except for once you get to like M10 through M14. That's what's going to decide this Bonds-K.
gotcha. That's the valley that we
Yeah.
will descend into.
Yep.
Because yeah, I know at the top it's pretty easy. Why don't we knock those out real quick?
Yeah, we got our two Yokozuna. Both Yokozuna had the same record last Basho, and Ono Sato won the playoff bout against Hoshoryu. So there's no reason for our Yokozuna to switch sides. It'll be Ono Sato on the east side and Hoshoryu on the west side. At Ozeki, yes, Jake.
Sorry, it just occurred to me if Hoshoryu had won, would they flip it? Does the playoff count?
Don't know. Have to look up the precedent. I'm not sure
I would
in that event. Luckily, don't have to
certainly
make
didn't
that
have to look
call.
it up this time. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, I wonder if he did win because like sometimes playoffs like count and
God damn
sometimes
it,
they don't.
Jake. Hold on. Now I
All
gotta
right,
go
I'm sorry.
back.
I derailed enough that you have to look it up now, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So I know based on this Basho that the last time we had a Yokozuna playoff was Hakuho versus Asa Shoryu back in 2009. So if I go to look up when that was, it looks like that was in 2000. That was in September of 2009, and Hakuho was the East Side Yokozuna. Asashoryu was the West Side Yokozuna. Asashoryu won that playoff.
Uh-huh.
So in the next Basho, Asashoryu was the East Side
Boom.
Yokozuna, and Hakuho was the West Side. Hakuho did what Hakuho does, though. He went 15 and 0 and won that.
Naturally, yes.
Yeah. But we do have our answer based on
Hey,
the last time that that occurred.
that's the best kind of digression, that one that we can competently answer within 2 minutes.
Yes. So we'll move on to Ozeki. There's nothing easier than the Ozeki rank this Basho. We got one. He's on the east side. Kodazakura, Ozeki East. Not a whole lot's going to change for another couple Basho, while Awanishiki gets 11 more wins in the next two Basho and joins him up there.
No digressions necessary for this one.
Yep. And then we get to Sekiwake, and this should be pretty straightforward. Both Wakataka Kage and Kirishima had losing records, and they will both vacate the Sekiwake ranks. First to fill their spot is going to be Awanishiki, who was 11 and 4, as Awanishiki does,
As it is
from
written.
Komosubi. There's nobody that can compete with him for this spot. He is head and shoulders above anybody who deserves a Sekiwake rank. So Aonishiki will be Sekiwake East. And then for Sekiwake West, that's also pretty clear. Oho went 10-5 from Maegashira 2. There is one other Rikishi whose rank and record combo would earn them the Sekiwake rank, but they really can't compete with Oho's credentials for
I
this spot.
I'm
So
learning.
Oho,
Let me guess. I would say Takanosho might be next in line.
that would be correct, as Takanosho is the only other Rikishi on this Banzuke whose rank and record combination would earn them a spot to the Sanyaku ranks. He would be Sekiwake if those two spots weren't filled by Aonishiki and Oho. But he went 12-3 from Maegashira 7. He will easily claim Komusubi East. Not going to force open a third Sekiwake slot. Not anywhere close to that happening. But yeah, he will be our Komusubi East. But then that gets us to Komusubi West. As I said, Takanosho was our last Rikishi that deserved a Sanyaku slot, but we still have one more slot to fill. So we need to pull up somebody who deserves to be ranked Maegashira 1, and we have three options there.
Do you want me to keep jumping in and guessing? Because
You can go for
I
it.
feel a little bit more comfortable than usual on these. Haku Oho deserves to be Maegashira 1. 8 and
Yes.
7 from 2 means he should move up roughly 1.
Yes.
Wakamoto Haru should be at 1 because he is +3. He should be roughly 3 ranks ahead of Maegashira 4.
Hmm.
And then after that, uh, Ura is close. He's Maegashira 8, so +5. He'd be in the 3 range. Who am I skipping over? Hiradomi should be roughly Maegashira 3.
You're looking too low on the Banzuke.
I just skipped over somebody, didn't I? Um, what's wrong with me? Takayasu should be dropping down only 1 rank with the
That's
7
right.
and 8. Boom.
Yep.
Okay.
So those are our three options. Jake, who are you putting in there?
For the record, I kind of want to feel like guessing because I've gotten a little bit of shit for being very passive on these episodes, except when I want to make a riff or something. Takayasu and Haku Oho are my. Oh shoot! So which order do the tiebreakers go? East side is generally like our first tiebreaker, so I'd put Takayasu and Haku Oho as my top options. Takayasu had the better rank prior, but Haku Oho had more wins prior. I would put Haku Oho at Komusubi.
Okay, you put Haku Oho. I'm putting Takayasu. Everything that you said is absolutely correct. We're eliminating Wakamoto Haru out of hand because the other two were on the east side. He was on the west side. And then we have Takayasu and Haku Oho in a virtual tie. If they were lower down the Banzuke, I'd probably go with Haku Oho. But by virtue of Takayasu having
Sanyaku
probably a
bias.
little bit of extra Sanyaku bias, I do think he could hang on to the Komusubi rank. It's very close between those two. It can go either way. I'm leaning towards Takayasu staying there. And if Takayasu does stay there, it would be his 4th consecutive basho at Komusubi. And in his previous 3, he's had a losing record twice, but he stayed at Komusubi the whole time nonetheless.
Oh, that's funny. Naturally, those two guys are the next ones then, Haku Oho and Wakamoto Haru.
Yep, Maegashira 1 should, well, not necessarily. So yeah, I've got Haku Oho at Maegashira 1 East. It should be pretty straightforward. Haku Oho and Wakamoto Haru are the only two Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 1. Haku Oho on the east side, Wakamoto Haru on the west. So Haku Oho should rise 1 rank to Maegashira 1 East, and Wakamoto Haru should rise 3 ranks to Maegashira 1 West. But there is something that could throw that off because we have our 2 Rikishi that are dropping from Sekiwake. Wakataka Kage and Kirishima both deserve to be 1 rank lower than Haku Oho and Wakamoto Haru. We have seen recently that Rikishi dropping from the Sanyaku have a bit of protection as they fall and can end up ahead of Rikishi that they would otherwise deserve to be behind. So if Haku Oho and Wakamoto Haru hadn't both been in the Joy, I would probably have moved Wakataka Kage and Kirishima ahead of them in some way. I couldn't put them both ahead of Haku Oho, as Haku Oho needs to get at least some promotion after his 8 and 7 record, which would put him at Maegashira 1 West at minimum. But since both Hakuoho and Wakamoto Haru were in the Joy, and they deserve to be one rank ahead of Wakataka Kage and Kirishima, I'm going to assume that that's enough to let them stay ahead of the dropping Sanyaku Rikshi.
Sure. That makes sense.
And then, if that is indeed how it goes down, the next four ranks are going to be, for the most part, pretty straightforward. Wakataka Kage and Kirishima are the only two Rikshi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 2. There's no other Rikshi that's going to have any kind of bias that would overrule Wakataka Kage and Kirishima's Sanyaku bias, so we don't need to worry about anybody that deserves to be ranked below them, possibly jumping ahead of them. So, since Wakataka Kage was on the east side before, he will be Maegashira 2 East, and Kirishima will be Maegashira 2 West, both dropping 3 ranks after 6 and 9 records. Then, at Maegashira 3, we've got two Rikshi that both deserve to be Maegashira 3, Hiradoumi and Ura. Both were on the east side, and both were on the east side.
I'm going to go back because I saw something different than what you said.
Yeah.
Go ahead, though.
You're throwing me off by clicking these a little bit earlier than you usually
know what?
do.
I'm going to go back to passive mode. Let me go back in my shell. I'll be back when I have a good joke.
Yeah. Stay in your lane.
Yep, sorry.
So both of these Rikshi were on the east side, and Ura had more wins, so I could put Ura here, but Hiradoumi was 8-7 at Maegashira 4, so I think he should get some joy bias, so I'm going to put him ahead of Ura, rising 1 rank to Maegashira 3 East, and then I'm going to put off placing Ura Jake for 1 more rank, as lurking right behind Ura is Tamawashi, who deserves to be ranked Maegashira 4. Tamawashi was Maegashira 1 East, and I think he's going to get some joy bias to jump ahead of Ura, who was previously ranked Maegashira 8. So I've got Tamawashi dropping 2 ranks to Maegashira 3 West after a 6-9 record. I did want to double check to make sure that there was recent precedent for a Joy Rikshi staying ahead of a rising single-digit Maegashira. We see that a lot down in like the Maegashira 7, 8, 9 range, but when we're still filling out the Joy, I wanted to make sure we had precedent for that occurring as well. And luckily, back in Haru, Gonoyama went 7 and 8 from Maegashira 2, and Tamawashi went 10 and 5 from Maegashira 7. Tamawashi deserved to be 1 rank ahead of Gonoyama, but on the next Banzuke, Gonoyama remained ahead of Tamawashi. So I feel like Tamawashi deserves the same benefit that cost him a rank 3 basho ago.
Turnabout's fair play on that one.
Exactly. So at Maegashira 4 on the east side, a bit of unluckiness for Ura there, but nothing else is going to stop him from rising 4 ranks after a 10 and 5 record to grab the Maegashira 4 East ranking. After that, there's only one other Rikshi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 4. That is Oshoma, who went 9 and 6 for Maegashira 7. There are no other Joy or Sanyaku Rikshi anywhere near him, so there's nothing stopping him from rising 3 ranks to take the Maegashira 4 West rank. And then, once again, Maegashira 5, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. There is only one Rikshi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 5. That is Kusuno, who went 8 and 7 for Maegashira 6. So I've got him rising 1 rank to fill the Maegashira 5 East spot. And then it should be Shodai, who is the only Rikshi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 6. So he'll get a little bit of an over promotion, rise 6 ranks to Maegashira 5 West after a 10 and 5 record from Maegashira 11. So like I said, a couple of decisions that we've got to make, but nothing really too crazy. And these last couple have really just kind of put themselves together. Moving on to Maegashira 6, we need to look at 2 Rikshi that deserves to be Maegashira 7 to fill these spots. And our options are Onokatsu, who went 7 and 8 from the spot we're trying to fill, or Chura no Umi, who went 9 and 6 from Maegashira 10 West. So I need to decide, do I keep Onokatsu at his previous rank, because due to East Side bias, he does deserve to be ahead of Chura no Umi, or do I put Chura no Umi ahead of Onokatsu, just to make sure that Onokatsu gets some kind of demotion for his 7 and 8 record. I feel like we have seen a few times, especially in this range of the Banzuke recently, where it would kind of make sense to leave a 7 and 8 Rikshi at their spot, but then they get pushed down. So part of me feels like the Banzuke committee is trying to push the 7 and 8 Rikshi down. So that's really kind of in my head as I'm filling these out. But my solution is neither of those two options because
Of course. Okay.
one Rikshi behind them is a Rikshi that deserves to be Maegashira 8, and that is Atami Fuji, who went 5 and 10 from
Oh,
Maegashira 3. Since Atami Fuji was in the Joy, I'm going to have him go ahead of both Onokatsu and Shura no Umi and drop only 3 ranks to Maegashira 6 East. This will allow me to keep both Onokatsu ahead of Shura no Umi and drop Onokatsu after his losing record. So that means I've got Onokatsu dropping a half rank from Maegashira 6 East to Maegashira 6 West after a 7 and 8 record. Then I'm going to have Chudo no Umi rise 3 ranks to Maegashira 7 East after his 9 and 6 record from Maegashira 10. And that really ends the clean-ish portion of this Banzuke.
yeah. Really, really not giving me a lot of opportunities for rips here. I'm trying to stay in my lane, but it's a narrow lane right now.
You can guess, Jake, just don't reveal the answer yet.
Yeah, well, I'm in my own head now. So 7 West, Shishi. There you go. Let's just
All
over
right.
promote him because he's not going to get another chance at this in his career, probably. Hey, boom, riff. All right, move on.
Yeah. Once we get to Maegashira 7 West, things just kind of turn for the worse. And then just one spot later at Maegashira 8 East, things get dire.
Oh,
So
dear.
to fill out Maegashira 7 West, we've already cleared out all the Rikshi who deserve to be Maegashira 7. We've already cleared out all the Rikshi who deserve to be Maegashira 8, that being Atami Fuji. So we now need to look to Rikshi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 9 to fill out Maegashira 7 West. However, there's only one Rikshi, and that Rikshi is Keen Bozan, who went 7 and 8 from
Right.
Maegashira 8 West. So I can't promote him to fill this rank. Then we have to look to Rikshi, who deserve to be ranked Maegashira 10. And our two options are Abi, who went 3 and 12 from Maegashira 1,
And
or
Midori Fuji.
Midori Fuji, who went 7 and 8 from Maegashira 9. Once again, we can't promote Midori Fuji. He had a losing record. So while the situation on the Banzuke is desperate, we have to kind of massively underdemote or overpromote somebody. Our options pretty much sort themselves out. Our only choice here is to give Abi a 3 rank under demotion and have him drop 6 ranks to Maegashira 7 West. If we really wanted to force Abi down further, we would have to go down to a Rikshi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 12. And that is Tobizaru is our
Oh,
next
no.
Rikshi with a winning record. And Tobizaru deserves to be ranked 2 ranks lower than Abi. So there's no way that Abi, who was in the Joy, is going to get pushed down further for the sake of pushing him down further. No,
Right.
Abi's just going to get a beneficial drop here. That's just the way the Banzuke is playing out.
And because Kinbozan can't get promoted to Maegashira East, and you said the next guy down with the winning record is at Maegashira 15, I see what you
Maegashira
meant
12.
by
Yeah. Or yeah, he was at Maegashira
He was
15.
15.
He deserves to be Maegashira 12.
So yes, I think dire is a very good word for what's coming next year.
Yes, because our option at Maegashira 9, Keen Bozan, can't do it. Our option at Maegashira 10, Midori Fuji, can't do it. Go to Maegashira 11. The only one there is Daisho. He went 7 and 8 from Maegashira 10. Can't promote him. So that brings us to 4 Rikshi who deserve to be ranked Maegashira 11.
Real quick, does that mean that the only 2 people still to move down would be Ichi Yamamoto 4 and 11, Gonoyama 1 and 14 for Maegashira 3. Oh, and Kodo Shoho. Those
And
are like
Kodo
the only
Shoho.
3 people above that have not been placed. And this
Correct.
is definitely too early for any of them.
So yeah,
Jeez.
we've got this group of 4 Rikshi who deserve to be ranked Maegashira 12. At least one of them's getting up to Maegashira 8.
Yeah.
Two of that group of 4, once again, we can eliminate immediately. One is Fuji no Kawa, who went 6 and 9 from Maegashira 9, and Roga, who went 7 and 8 from Maegashira 11. So they are eliminated out of hand. So that just leaves us with the aforementioned Ichi Yamamoto, who went 4 and 11 from Maegashira 5, who would only receive a 3-rank demotion when you're typically looking at a 7-rank demotion, or Tobizaru, who went 9-6 from Maegashira 15 and would receive a 7-rank promotion. Neither of them are good options. We could look at our typical tiebreaker rules and say that, hey, Tobizaru was on the east side, Ichi Yamamoto was on the west side, so Tobizaru should take this spot. But it has been very clear recently that the Banzuke committee favors a higher ranked Rikishi over wins or side of the Banzuke sometimes. So I'm going to say that Ichi Yamamoto's 10 rank advantage over Tobizaru will win out. So I'm going to have Ichi Yamamoto get a very soft demotion of only
Very.
3 ranks and land at Maegashira 8 East.
Yikes.
But luckily, we do get a little bit of relief in our next 2 ranks. We have reached the rank where Keen Bozan went 7 and 8.
Oh, thank Christ. Okay.
Seeing how he deserves to be 3 ranks higher than Tobizaru, the only person that could push him from this spot, I don't think the Banzuke committee could justify putting Tobizaru ahead of Keen Bozan just to artificially force Keen Bozan down to Banzuke a little. So I do have Keen Bozan keeping his rank of Maegashira 8 West. And it's the same story with Midori Fuji. He went 7 and 8 from Maegashira 9 East. He still deserves to be 2 ranks higher than Tobizaru. So I'm not just going to decide to push Midori Fuji down a half rank. I'm going to have him keep his rank of Maegashira 9 East. So now we get
Tiny
to Maegashira.
relief. Yeah. Tiny little, okay, by biting the bullet and putting Ichi Yamamoto there, that gave us 2 ranks of relief, but I feel like we're still at a point where we can't keep Fujinokawa at 6 and 9. That's too much to keep him at the same rank.
Yeah. I mean, it's been done.
It's like that one Tokushoryu Yu show in 2020 where it's like, now that this has happened once, we have to acknowledge the possibility it can always happen.
Yep.
But I don't think that makes sense. So is this where you're going to put Tobizaru?
He's really the only other option for Maegashira 9 West, a rise of 6 ranks following a 9-6 record. This is where I'm putting Tobizaru. But in the back of my head, I am starting to consider what to do with our 2 other high-ranking Rikishi that had catastrophic records, those being Kodo Shoho, who went 3 and 12 for Maegashira 5. He was Maegashira 5, but still technically in the Joy. He did fight both Yokozuna. And also Gonoyama, who went 1 and 14 for Maegashira 3. Both of these Rikishi were in the Joy, and I have a feeling that they could be used to plug holes to prevent big over-promotions. I think Maegashira 9 is a little too high for either of them to go. Tobizaru deserves to be 4 ranks higher than Kodo Shoho and 4 ranks higher than Gonoyama. So I don't think it's quite time to place either of them yet, but this is really where what am I going to do with these 2 guys? Because I don't think either one of them is going to eat their full demotion that they deserve.
No, not with no more winning records until Maegashira 16.
Yes. So now we go to Maegashira 10. We're left with 2 options. Daisho, who went 7 and 8 from, once again, the rank we are trying to fill, or Fujinokawa, who went 6 and 9 from Maegashira 9. And Fujinokawa is really only an option if we want to force Daisho down after a 7 and 8 record. But once again, I feel like that's just really not in play in this situation. I feel like Daisho is the only real option. Just looking at where they are on the Banzuke, Daisho was 1 rank behind Fujinokawa and had a 7-8 record compared to Fujinokawa's 6 and 9. You would always expect the 7 and 8 guy to be ranked ahead of the 6 and 9 guy the next Banzuke in that scenario. So I don't see the Banzuke committee just kind of artificially moving this guy down for the sake of moving him down. So I've got Daisho keeping his rank at Maegashira 10 East. So to fill Maegashira 10 West, we got to keep looking to our pool of Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 12. Once again, only Fujinokawa is eligible to take this spot, as Roga Still haven't gotten to him as he was ranked Maegashira 11 with a 7-8 record. So I did consider Koto Shoho to take this spot. Fujinokawa deserves to be 2 ranks higher than Koto Shoho, so I'm not quite ready to pull that trigger yet. So that means I've got Fujinokawa dropping 1 rank to Maegashira 10 West after a 6-9 record from Maegashira 9.
Yeah, that feels palatable, but
Yeah,
we're certainly getting some really heavy judgment calls here.
yeah, absolutely. And things are getting better. They're not great yet, but they're getting better. We're at Maegashira 11. We just cleared out our pool of eligible Rikshi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 12. So we've got to look to the Rikshi that deserve to be Maegashira 13, which is a 2 rank gap, which is better than the 4 rank gap we were
Right.
working with before. So it's getting better.
Progress. Yep.
So the 3 Rikshi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 13 that we need to look to fill this Maegashira 11 East spot, only 2 of those 3 are eligible for promotion, those being Tomokaze, who went 9-6 from Maegashira 16, and Shishi, who went 10-5 from Maegashira 18. When we have those 2 guys as our only eligible options from the Rikshi that deserve to be Maegashira 13, that's when I started to look really, really hard at Koto Shoho, who was the last member of the Joy. He fought both Yokozuna, and he was ranked 11 ranks higher than Tomokaze and 13 ranks higher than Shishi. I think there's a very good chance that Koto Shoho, despite being Maegashira 5, could get Joy bias here and end up going ahead of both Tomokaze and Shishi. So that's what I am predicting. I don't feel great about it, but I've got Koto Shoho landing at Maegashira 11 East, dropping only 6 ranks after a 3-12 record from Maegashira 5. But I feel like with how the Banzuke committees, what they've been doing recently, and the circumstances of this Banzuke, I feel like this is a legitimate guess. It could bite me in the ass, but that's what I'm doing with Koto Shoho. After that, part of me is like, why not throw Goshobiyama in here too? But
Just 2 birds with 1 stone. Just do it.
Goshobiyama deserves to be 3 ranks lower than these guys. Koto Shoho was only 1 rank lower
Yeah.
than
Okay,
these
fair.
guys. I'm not pulling the trigger on 3 ranks. So that leaves us with Roga, who went 7-8 from Maegashira 11 West. The only other Rikshi that could take this spot from him, Goshobiyama. Could be Goshobiyama.
Technically, sure.
Deserves to be 4 ranks lower than Roga, but technically it's an option. Or Tomokaze and Shishi, who both deserve to be 1 rank lower than Roga. And once again, I'd feel like that'd just be artificially pushing Roga down for no real reason. So I do have Roga keeping his spot at Maegashira 11 West.
4th guy and 4 ranks to be a stopgap like that.
Hey, on a bond scale like this, you need them. God
Not
bless
to-
those guys.
Yeah, no kidding. Ichi Yamamoto and Koto Shoho also feel very much like band-aids being put on a sinking ship here too. So
Yep,
yeah, lots of that
absolutely.
going around.
Yeah. When we get to Maegashira 12, looking at Tomokaze and Shishi, just because they were so low down the Banzuke, Maegashira 16 and 18, really, really wanted to pull the trigger with Goshobiyama here, but I just couldn't do it yet. So that leaves me with Tomokaze or Shishi to fill out the Maegashira 12 ranks. Both of them were, and we're just going to look at normal tiebreakers for this one. It's
East
been a
side?
while.
Sure.
Both were, yeah. So Jake, who should go here?
East side, they're both on the east side. Shishi has more wins. I would put him ahead.
And that's what I've got in my prediction as well. Shishi rising 6 ranks after a 10-5 record to take the Maegashira 12 East spot. At Maegashira 12 West, technically, Mitaka Yumi is now eligible
Back
to
on the
end up
table.
here. His previous rank was Maegashira 12 West, but unlike the previous 4 Rikshi with 7 and 8 records, there is someone to knock him out of this spot, and that is Tomokaze. He deserves the same rank as Mitaka Yumi, but Tomokaze was on the east side, Mitaka Yumi was on the west, so pretty clear case to have Tomokaze rise 4 ranks after a 9-6 record to take that Maegashira 12 West rank.
Yeah, I guess what I'm seeing here is to keep a guy who's 7 and 8 to keep him in one spot. It has to be like it can't be like a tiebreaker. Like if it's a tiebreaker, it's going to go to the.
Could be.
You
Has
should
in the past.
Well, I guess you should err on the side of demoting them if you can. But when it's like multiple ranks difference or something like that, then sure, you can demote them. But like if it's two guys that are tied, I think you would err on the side of demoting the guy for 7 and 8 most of the time.
Probably is how I would lean. I have seen it where it's just like a matter of, hey, this guy was, they were both on the east side. One was 7 and 8, the other was 6 and 9, and you keep the 7 and 8 one there because they had more wins. I've seen that happen.
Sure.
But that's been a little while. Like I said, I do feel like this Banzuke committee wants to push down the 7 and 8s if they can a little bit, but this is one where I don't think you can or should.
Wait, I
So
think you meant that the other way around.
probably.
Okay. Mitaki demotion. Got it.
Yep. So the voice in the back of my head that's just yelling "Go no Yama" it was really loud for this Mitaki Yumi rank at Maegashira 13 East for some reason, but just the 3 rank difference that Mitaki Yumi deserves to be higher than Gonoyama is just still too much to make me pull the trigger. So I've got Mitaki Yumi dropping 1 rank after a 7 and 8 record to land at Maegashira 13 East. And so we have now cleared out the Rikshi that deserve to be Maegashira 13, and we can look to a group of 3 that deserve to be Maegashira 14. Toki Hayate, Ryuden, and Nishiki Fuji from Juryo. Immediately eliminate consideration for Nishiki Fuji because the last Makuuchi Rikshi with a winning record hasn't been placed yet, that being Ryuden. And we also eliminate Toki Hayate because he went 7 and 8 for Maegashira 13 West. So that leaves us with just Ryuden. But this is where I finally pull that Gonoyama trigger. Probably the wrong move, but I do have Gonoyama dropping 10 ranks after a 1-14 record from Maegashira 3. My reasoning is that Gonoyama was in the Joy and was ranked 14 ranks higher than Ryuden. That's why I pulled the trigger on Gonoyama. What gives me pause is that Ryuden deserves to be 2 ranks higher than Gonoyama. So this is a step further than what I think we've seen from the Banzuke committee recently. I don't know that we've seen somebody that deserves to be 2 ranks lower than somebody go ahead of them. So like I said, I think this is a big risk, could easily put Ryuden and Toki Hayate ahead of Gonoyama here. And I could have Gonoyama off by a full rank, or Gonoyama could have gone at Maegashira 10 or 11. Who knows? But like I said before, I'm just really thinking back to a few years ago where you would use Rikshi like Gonoyama, who were in the Joy and had horrendous records, to fill holes in the Banzuke. You rarely, if ever, saw them eat their full expected demotion. So I'm going to risk it and say that the Banzuke committee uses Gonoyama to plug this hole because we don't have any Rikshi left that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 13 West or higher. So that it is a hole to fill here. We would be over promoting somebody to fill it. So instead of doing that, let's just plug that hole with Gonoyama. He's dropping 10 ranks. There's not a huge difference between 10 and 13 ranks that he deserves. Like once you're dropping 10 ranks, doesn't make a whole lot of a difference if you keep going further. So I'm going to say Gonoyama plugs this hole, ends up at Maegashira 13 West.
I'm really struggling to keep this podcast PG when you say plugs this hole like 25 times in the last single monologue.
Sorry. I'll try to do better so that your head doesn't go to those places, Jake.
I appreciate that. My inappropriate jokes are your responsibility.
Yes, they are. So we'll move on to Maegashira 14. And hey, would you look at that? We're at Maegashira 14, and we're going to be looking at 3 Rikshi that deserve to be Maegashira 14.
Hey!
So, Nishiki Fuji, still eliminated, not in consideration until Ryuden is placed, and Ryuden was on the east side of the Banzuke previously, while Toki Hayate was on the west side. So pretty easily have Ryuden rising 3 ranks after a 9-6 record to take the Maegashira 14 East rank. Then we have to think if the Juryo Rikshi with a winning record, because we can now place Juryo Rikshi on the Banzuke. We have placed all of the Makuuchi Rikshi that had winning records. So we need to decide, does the Juryo Rikshi with a winning record go ahead of Toki Hayate, or will Toki Hayate stay ahead just by virtue of being in Makuuchi? it gets made a little bit simpler than that because if we don't put Toki Hayate at Maegashira 14 West, then we would be over demoting him, which is something I'm not going to do to put a Juryo Rikishi ahead of a Makuuchi Rikishi. So I've got Toki Hayate dropping one rank to take the Maegashira 14 West after a 7-8 record.
Makes sense.
Then at Maegashira 15, at this point, Nishiki Fuji is 2 ranks clear of the next Makuuchi Rikishi that could be placed. So I've got him as our first Juryo promotee, rising 6 ranks to Maegashira 15 after an 11-4 record from Juryo 3. And then after that, we've got 2 Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 16, fighting for the last Maegashira 15 spot. We've got Makuuchi Rikishi Shona Naomi, who went 7-8 from the spot we're trying to fill, or Oshoumi, who went 9-6 from Juryo 1. For me, I feel like we've seen this scenario happen a couple of times over the past year or two, and I feel like the tiebreaker usually goes in favor of the 7-8 Makuuchi Rikishi. So I'm gonna do that here again and hope that 5th time's the charm as we keep our 5th 7-8 record Rikishi at their previous rank. I do wonder if the Banzuke committee is going to have a bit of fatigue of being generous with these Rikishi, and despite being tied with the Juryo Rikishi for the spot, and typically you give the tiebreaker to the Makuuchi Rikishi, I do wonder if they might drop Shona Naomi just because they're pissed off that they had to keep some other Rikishi at the top.
I love the personification. I think that that's a lot of fun. Like you're attributing that they are like, oh, I didn't call travel on that last possession, so I got to call it this on this one.
Yeah, Shona Naomi could end up being the victim of a makeup call here.
Yeah, makeup. Thank you. That's the phrase I was looking for.
Yeah, and honestly, I was kind of feeling that way with Roga. Like, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Keen Bozan, Midori Fuji, Daisho, I feel like they're staying put. I feel like Roga could be more at risk than those 3 of dropping down, even though he's in a pretty similar situation as those others. But I feel like by the time they're doing it the 2nd and 3rd time, I just feel like the Banzuke committee's not happy and they want to find any excuse not to do it anymore. Doesn't reflect in my prediction. So I've got Shona Naomi at Maegashira 15 West, keeping his old rank. So if that's what happens, then at Maegashira 16 East, Oshoumi should pretty easily land there. It'd be a 3-rank promotion after a 9-6 record from Juryo 1. Well, I say pretty easily, but I can't say that because I did wrestle with this one a little bit more because Oshoumi deserves to be 1 rank ahead of Sada Naomi and Asakoryu. And we did just see a couple of basho ago in a very similar situation where Juryo promotee Hide Naomi deserved to be 1 rank higher than Koto Shoho. But Koto Shoho went ahead of Hide Naomi. But for some reason, and this is just a vibes thing. It's probably I'm at the bottom of the Banzuke. I've given up doing. I even did the research and I just don't care. For some reason I feel like Oshoumi will go ahead of Sada Naomi and Asakoryu, despite contrary evidence just 2 basho ago. It's just a vibes thing. It's just what my gut's telling me, so I'm going with it. I've got Oshoumi at Maegashira 16 East. So
I can make a note of that real quick for what does Jake think Ryan got wrong real quick?
And so if Oshoumi goes here, the next 2 Rikishi that would be eligible are Sada Naomi and Asakoryu. Both of them went 6-9 from Maegashira 14. So since Sada Naomi was on the east side, he would stay ahead of Asakoryu and drop 2 ranks to Maegashira 16 West. And then that would have Asakoryu drop 3 ranks to Maegashira 17 East. So after that, Chiyoshima is the next Rikishi that deserves to be placed. He is ahead of 4 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 18, including 2 Makuuchi Rikishi. And once again, my gut is telling me that for this basho, Fujuryo Rikishi deserves to be 1 rank ahead of a Makuuchi Rikishi. That's good enough for them to go ahead of the Makuuchi Rikishi this basho. Seen it multiple times over the past year that's not the case. But it just feels right to me on this one, and I don't know why. Part of it I know is that like the Rikishi we're comparing them to is like Sada Naomi and Asakoryu, who were Maegashira 14. So it's not like a super high ranking Maegashira that's dropping, and they might want to give them a little bit more of a cushion, so they put them ahead of the Juryo Rikshi. We're looking at a couple of guys that were Maegashira 14, or the people that Chiyoshoma's ahead of that deserve to be Maegashira 18 are Hitoshi, who went, yeah, Hitoshi could end up here. Hitoshi could
He
stay.
could hold rank.
He could, but there's also Meisei who went 5 and 10 from Maegashira 13, who's going to have the tiebreaker over Hitoshi anyways. So there is a chance that both of those guys go ahead of Chiyoshoma. They only deserve to be one rank lower than Chiyoshoma. But I also feel like a Maegashira 2 guy or a Juryo 2 guy that went 9 and 6 getting held out of the top division when he deserves to be ahead of a couple Makuuchi Rikshi, that would seem kind of unfair to me. So I feel like Chiyoshoma's got to get in there, and he should be ahead of those two Maegashira 18 guys. So I've got Chiyoshoma rising up 3 ranks after a 9 and 6 record from Juryo 2 to land at Maegashira 17 West. And then we're at our final spot, and I've kind of already gone over how I think that will go. There's 4 eligible Rikshi there, but the maths pretty well for that to be Meisei. 2 of those 4 are Juryo Rikshi. I have them losing the tiebreaker every time.
Every time.
And then the other one is Hitoshi. Meisei was on the east side. Hitoshi was on the west side. So I'm going to have Meisei drop 5 ranks after a 5 and 10 record for Maegashira 13 to take the final spot on the Banzuke. So a little bit lighter this time, at least in my prediction. I don't know how you could fit more Juryo Rikshi into the top division than the 3 that I predicted, but a little bit lighter turnover than we've seen over the past few, where it's been like 5 or 6 every single time. Let's see. When was the last time we actually had 3?
That does feel really light, yeah. So that leaves the obvious.
Would have been
Takeru
Aki
Fuji.
2024.
Only a year. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, Takeru Fuji and Nishikigi are gone for sure. Big time. No debate there.
Yep.
And Hitoshi, he's gone because of the tiebreaker to Meisei.
Yeah, pretty borderline. And like the top of Juryo, like it's a good thing we don't have to predict Juryo predictions, because we've got 3 Rikshi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 18, Hitoshi, Fuji Seiyun, Asahakuryu. 2 more that deserve to be ranked Juryo 1, including like Kotoeho, who went 8 and 7 from Juryo 2. So he's got to fill one of those Juryo 1 spots, which is going to push one of those guys that deserve to be Maegashira 18 down below him. It's going to be interesting how that plays out at the top Juryo, but I don't care. I don't have to predict it. I've just got to figure out who's the last guy in the top division. And it feels like that's pretty clear, unless they're being really mean to Chiyoshoma, which, I'm not necessarily against, but it would be wrong.
But yeah, Juryo, that's not my circus, not my wrestlers.
Exactly. All right. So, Jake, what are the things in this Banzuke that you think I most likely got wrong?
I think there was a lot of the word gut and or vibes when it came to
especially
those.
Especially at the end.
Yep, especially at the end. So the Ichi Yamamoto one feels like the worst thing to happen, but your logic makes sense for how we got there. I know that's kind of a refrain that I copy every time we do this, where it's like, that's wrong, or that doesn't feel right, but you made sense arguing it. But yeah,
it's really him or Tobizaru, and I just don't see a 7 rank promotion for a Maegashira 15 right now.
But regardless, that Ichi Yamamoto one, despite being the worst from in a vacuum, that one feels much safer than Gonoyama and Koto Shoho in my mind. I think those 2 are a little more volatile.
We've got a lot more options available to us when I select Koto Shoho and Gonoyama.
Yeah, you weren't like completely stretched like for a single bad answer, but a single one with like it was with Ichi Yamamoto. But yeah, that plus the rough order of those couple Juryo guys coming up, that feels really shaky too. So I guess if I were to pick one, I would say Nishiki Fuji Oshomi promotion. That's the spot that I think. Especially because you said, I know this one is wrong. I think what might have been the exact words out of your mouth.
Well, I feel like Nishiki Fuji is safe. Where he's going, he's pretty locked in there.
Sorry,
it's
you're right.
Oshomi and Chiyoshoma are the ones that a little bit more in the air.
Yeah, we'll say 16 East through 17 West. That I feel like it's pretty safe to say that it's not 100% correct, even if you do have the right 4 guys in there.
Yep, I agree. I absolutely agree there. All right, so that is what I think is going to be happening for our Kyushu Banzuke. Don't have too much longer to wait to find out. The Banzuke is going to be released Sunday, October 26th, here in the States for the Basho that is starting on November 9th.
Yeah, and for the record, our GSB schedule might be a little wonky because I got a baby due any minute.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that goes. But as of now, our plan is to still hit all of our normal episodes. We'll be back with a Banzuke review the couple days after the Banzuke is released. Preview episode about a week before the Basho. We'll see what I am able to accomplish there. But
Yep.
until then, throw your salt high and keep moving forward. All right, now let's talk a little bit more about this Mawashi item.